It was more interesting results at the box office for the first full weekend of June, with the two major new releases, in addition to the holdovers still doing work from previous weeks. At number one, as most predicted, at least I definitely did, was Scary Movie with 55 million. Number two was Masters of the Universe, underperforming, definitely not doing the numbers the studio would have hoped, with 29 million in its opening weekend. Backrooms dropped down to number three with 25 million, a 68% drop from its big $81 million weekend. Obsession finally had a drop, but it was a minuscule one, just 6% in weekend number four, to still make 25 million, bringing its bank account up to 152 million just domestically. Crazy numbers for that movie. Number five is something called The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act. I don't know what the this is. I hadn't even heard of it. I mentioned it to a friend. That's some kind of obscure thing that some people were into. Yeah, I don't really know what exactly this thing is. But that makes it all the more embarrassing that it dropped The Mandalorian and Grogu to number 6 in its third weekend, already out of the top 5. Yikes, with $10 million. I always knew that Scary Movie was going to crush Masters of the Universe. From the moment I saw that first Scary Movie trailer come out, the kind of laughs I saw that trailer got, and how red hot horror's been in recent years, folks were just ready for a comedic look into some of the biggest horror hits of the last few years. It also helped that the parody genre had been buried for over a decade. The 2026 Scary Movie, the sixth installment, made $55 million. Now I gotta admit, based on the Friday night screening I was a part of, it seemed like $70 million total would have been possible. I guess not. $55 million is still a great debut for any comedy in the middle of the summer. Not bonkers good though. It would have needed to do $70 million or over for me to think that. But I think it actually is a great result for this film. You can look to the actual horror films still in the top 5 for why this movie didn't reach those $70 million levels. But Scary Movie has already made over $100 million worldwide on a budget of $30 million. Looks like it was the right time, right place for another Scary Movie. Turns out the right time for Masters of the Universe was in the 80s, as the power of He-Man was no match for the comedy stylings of the Wayans brothers. Masters of the Universe came in second place with 29 million and 54 million total worldwide. That just ain't gonna get it done on a budget of reportedly 170 to 200 million. I just don't think there was a lot of interest in this movie. I think the early 2000s would have been a good time to try a second attempt at a live-action He-Man movie, but in 2026, no one cares about He-Man on that level anymore. I think the only 80s cartoon properties that still have some juice at the box office are Transformers and Ninja Turtles. You can argue how much of a pull those two still have. But stuff like He-Man and G.I. Joe, no one really cares about anymore. I don't think there was much in the trailers to really sell folks on this movie. I certainly wasn't very interested in seeing it, so I didn't. Although from what I hear, it's actually not bad. It actually got good critic ratings and people are talking positively about it. Will I check it out? TBD, probably not. I don't have time to watch everything. Going into the summer season, I wouldn't have thought this was a terrible release window for this movie. Although with films like this that could go either way at the box office, you're better off waiting till August to release it when things slow down a bit. And of course, no one could have seen the competition coming from the 200 million horror sensations out right now. As stated before, on a budget of 170 to 200 million, a 54 million worldwide debut is nothing but disastrous. Backrooms fell from its number 1 spot, 68% from its $81 million opening weekend, down to $25 million for its second weekend. Under most circumstances, a 68% drop isn't what you want to see, but for a small budget horror film that had a huge opening weekend, that's still a good number, as any horror film that's doing $25 million in week 2 is still doing great business, especially when it's at $212 million worldwide on a $10 million budget. This was the weekend that I said Obsession would finally have some kind of drop, and it did, but it was a minuscule 6% drop to still make $25 million in week 4, just behind Backrooms. The total numbers are $152 million domestically and $224 million worldwide on a $1 million budget. This is just shockingly amazing business. The trendiness behind this movie just won't stop. People are just hooked, obsessed if you will, to make this movie an absolute phenom. In the recent week, you see the star that the actress Indy Navarrete has become, getting interviewed on Kimmel, the blow up on her Instagram. But this movie, the kind of business it's doing, whatever level is above bonkers, this is it. I mean, holy shit.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
Number 5 is that movie I hadn't even heard of, The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act. Apparently it's the final couple episodes of some TV show maybe. I don't know what the it is, but the significant thing is that it bumped another TV show turned movie, in The Mandalorian and Grogu, to 6th place in just its 3rd weekend. Another biggest drop, 59% down to 10 million, off not such a great 2nd weekend. I couldn't believe it when I saw that positioning, a Star Wars movie out of the top 5 in week 3. I defended this movie's box office off its opening weekend. You know, I thought it had a solid debut given it was a TV show turned movie, but then the drop in week 2 wasn't great, but you could look to the 2 horror sensations as something that no one saw coming. But these results just keep getting worse and worse as it's one bad headline after another. From the lowest opening weekend for a Star Wars film, then it gets beat by the low budget sensation that was Obsession. Then it drops 69% in week 2. Then it gets knocked out of the top 5 after just 3 weeks, losing to some no-name TV show turned movie that no one had heard of. This week 3 result is just a train wreck, an outright disaster, and I would not have said that after the first 2 weeks.
Let's save the rest for after dinner.
In the big picture outlook, the movie has to get to around 450 million worldwide to feel decent about making any kind of profit. And with 293 total worldwide right now, I don't see that happening. Even though, for as bad as some of these headlines are, I still wouldn't call the movie an outright flop. Because of the responsible budget by blockbuster standards at 165 million, when you're factoring in the marketing tie-ins and then the major money this franchise still makes on merchandise, the movie I don't think is going to be a huge money loser, but it's not going to do the kind of box office numbers that obviously Disney would have hoped for. So that'll do it for this box office review. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.